Yeah, I mean, the Eco-Fiscal Commission put together this morning's discussion to make a few points, I think. Probably the single most important one is that it is possible to have a very good environmental performance and a very good economic performance, and in fact the two are dependent on each other. So as we move forward at this very important time around public policy, it's important that we have the right environmental measures in there and that we stimulate a good economy.
What does Suncor believe is the right, the right balance of those?
I think I know that there's a huge appetite for a very simple answer. I mean, we think climate change is happening. We think a broad-based carbon price is the right answer. If you look at the CO2 production in a modern economy, about 80% of it is at the point of consumption or the point of use. So targeting fees just on industry simply doesn't get to it. So making sure it's broad-based. There's a huge appetite for a price. There is no exact price which is right. What's important to meet those two requirements is that, first of all, we move and take some action. There is a price. After that, that has to be reflective of the economy that you're trying to stimulate. That's very different in Alberta than it is in Ontario. It's very different in Canada than it is in the US than it is in Europe. So you're looking for a price which gets that balance between stimulating the right behaviours and innovation and yet making people recognise there is a price associated with consumption. So it's, my answer to the question is there's a price to start with, there'll be a price that needs to develop, it needs to be proportionate, it needs to be responsive to stimulating the right behaviours.
What you stress the importance of taking the time to get it right, but how long is too long to wait? At what point does that uncertainty make it difficult for you to plan future projects?
Yeah, I mean, the purpose of getting it right is just that, this is a complicated file, and particularly if you come into Alberta, we have a new government who are working very hard to understand the issues as they stand today. What we're trying to do is say they shouldn't feel the need to rush. If it takes weeks and months, that's okay, and we'll help with that process through the transition. Now, there are external requirements, and you've seen at provincial level and at the Canadian level responses. So the federal government has talked about its 2030 target of a 30% reduction. So action is taking. I mean, I think we're talking weeks and months, not delaying for years.
Have you had a chance to talk to Premier Designate Lockley yet?
The Premier Designate contacted me within 24 hours of being elected, and the sorts of conversation we had were around cooperation, around how we collaborate. It was around how we get this balance of economy and environment right, and I was very encouraged by those early conversations.
Talking about broad-based change, not only industry bearing the brunt of this, but also consumers as well. What do you exactly mean by that? Are you in favor of, say, carbon fees on utility bills and higher price at the pumps?
I mean, I'll start at the principle level, the philosophical level, and then the detail needs to be worked out away from here. But yes, absolutely that there is a broad-based, all CO2. But let me go back to first principles. Climate change is a global phenomenon. All CO2 molecules are equal. Doesn't matter where they come from, doesn't matter which country of origin they have, it's a global phenomenon. So it's really important that when we have policy, we get to that broad base of production of CO2. As you heard me say, 80% of it is produced at the point of consumption. So a realization by the consumer is very important, because if you want energy efficiency, if you want people to change their behaviors and affect the demand side, you have to get to those users. So yes, a very broadly based tax where people realize what the prices are at the point of consumption.